Listen, I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I have been a sports commentator for the Galactic Athletics Federation for 217 cycles. 217. I have seen every species in the known galaxy compete. I have witnessed feats that would make your sensory organs weep with joy. I have commentated on events so spectacular that 3 separate civilizations erected monuments in my honor. And then the humans showed up. My name is Vorn, and I am a Keplerian. We are a sensible species. Logical. We have 4 eyes, which means we see things other species miss. We have been running the Galactic Olympics for the past 900 cycles without incident. Well, mostly without incident. There was that thing with the Zorbathians and the anti-gravity discuss, but we do not talk about that anymore. The point is, we knew what we were doing. We had rules. Good rules. Rules that made sense. Rules that had been carefully crafted over centuries to ensure fair competition between the thousands of species that participate in the games. And then Administrator Kelrick, in his infinite wisdom, decided to invite the humans. Now you might be wondering, why would we invite a species we had never heard of? A species from some backwater arm of the galaxy that had only just figured out faster-than-light travel. Well, I asked Kelrick the same question. You know what he said? He said, and I quote, Vorn, it would be good for diplomatic relations. Diplomatic relations. Right. The humans arrived 3 days before the opening ceremony. 1 human. Singular. Most species send delegations of at least 50 athletes. The Thoraxians sent 300. The humans sent 1 guy. His name was Marcus Webb. I first saw him in the processing center on Station Olympus, our massive orbital facility that hosts the games. I was there doing preliminary interviews, getting footage for the pre-game coverage, the usual routine. And there he was, standing in line behind a 7-foot-tall Grimoirian warrior athlete, looking completely out of place. He was average height for a human, I later learned. About 6 feet in their measurement system. Brown hair. Brown eyes. He wore a jacket that said Earth on the back in their primitive alphabet. He carried 1 bag. 1. The Grimoirian in front of him had a hovercart stacked with equipment. I approached him with my camera drone. A professional courtesy. Every athlete gets at least a 30-second spot in the pre-game montage. Excuse me, I said, my translator device converting my words into his language. I am Vorn, chief commentator for the GAF. Might I have a moment of your time? He turned and smiled. Humans do that when they are happy, apparently. They bare their teeth. It is quite unsettling at first. Sure thing, he said. His voice was casual, relaxed, like he was at some local sporting event and not the most prestigious athletic competition in the galaxy. What do you need? Just a brief interview, I replied. Name, home world, which events you will be competing in. Standard procedure. Marcus Webb, Earth, and, he pulled out a data pad and scrolled through it. All of them? I blinked. All 4 of my eyes, independently. I am sorry, I said. Could you repeat that? All of them? Or, well, all the ones I qualified for. Which is, let me see, yeah, all of them. There are 47 events in the Galactic Olympics. 47. They range from the 100-meter sprint to the marathon, from high jump to shot put, from swimming to zero-gravity maneuvering, from endurance challenges that last 6 hours to explosive power events that last 6 seconds. No one competes in all of them. It is physically impossible. Different events require different body types, different muscle compositions, different biological adaptations. A sprinter cannot be a marathon runner. A high jumper cannot be a weight lifter. This is basic biology. I told him this. He shrugged. Actually shrugged. Yeah, my coach mentioned something about that. But I figured, hey, I am already here, might as well give them all a shot, you know. I did not know. I did not know at all. Mr. Webb, I said, trying to maintain my professional composure. Perhaps you misunderstand the nature of these competitions. These are the finest athletes from thousands of worlds, species that have evolved for millions of years to excel at specific physical tasks. The Grammarians, for instance, I gestured to the warrior athlete who had moved ahead in line, have a muscle density 3 times that of most species. The Qualaxians can run at speeds exceeding 60 miles per hour. The Tellurian swimmers have gills and webbed appendages. You are competing against biological specialists. Cool, he said, and then he winked. Actually winked. Should be fun. That was my first clue that something was very, very wrong. Or very, very right, depending on your perspective. The opening ceremony was, as always, spectacular. 10,000 athletes from 4,000 worlds, all gathered in the grand arena. Holographic displays showed highlights from previous games. The Galactic anthem played, which sounds like a combination of whale song and crystallized mathematics. Beautiful stuff. Marcus Webb walked in with the Earth delegation, which was him. Just him. Alone. Carrying his planet's flag by himself while every other world had teams of 50 to 300 athletes. The crowd did not know whether to laugh or feel sorry for him. I was in the commentary booth with my co-host Threnna. She is a Plexian, which means she has tentacles instead of arms and can process information at about 10 times the speed of most species. Excellent for color commentary. Well, Vorn, she said, her voice amused. It appears Earth has sent a very small delegation. Indeed, Threnna. 1 athlete. Marcus Webb. Human. He claims he will be competing in all 47 events. All 47? Is that some kind of joke? I asked him the same question. He seemed quite serious. Poor thing. He is going to embarrass himself terribly. Do we know anything about human athletic capabilities? I pulled up the file that the GAF had compiled. It was depressingly thin. They are a relatively young species. Carbon-based. Bilateral symmetry. Endoskeleton. Moderate strength-to-weight ratio. Nothing particularly special. Their home world has slightly higher gravity than standard, which might give them a minor advantage in strength events, but nothing significant. So average in every way? Aggressively average, yes. This is going to be painful to watch. She had no idea how right she was, though not in the way she thought. The first event was the 100-meter sprint. Simple, straightforward, run fast. The fastest runners in the galaxy were competing. The favorite was a Qualaxian named Brickstar, who had won the last 3 games. Qualaxians are built for speed. Long legs, powerful haunches. They look sort of like bipedal cheetahs if cheetahs were purple and had 6 fingers. Marcus Webb was in lane 7. He looked ridiculous. He wore simple running clothes. Not even powered, no enhancement tech, no aerodynamic shielding, just fabric. He did some stretches that looked completely ineffective, cracked his neck, which made a disturbing popping sound and settled into the starting blocks. The other runners barely looked at him. Why would they? He was human. Average. Not a threat. The starting signal blared. They ran. And Marcus Webb kept up. Not just kept up. He stayed even with the pack. His legs moved in a blur. His breathing was controlled. His form was, well, it was beautiful, actually. Efficient. Every movement had purpose. Brickstar pulled ahead at the 50-meter mark, as expected. The Qualaxian was a machine. Pure speed. But Marcus was right there. 4th place. Then 3rd. Then 2nd. The crowd started paying attention. Threnna's tentacles were rigid with surprise. Oh, Vorn, is that human actually competing? It appears so, yes. They hit the 80-meter mark. Brickstar was still in the lead, but Marcus had found another gear. His legs pumped faster. His arms swung with mechanical precision. And then, impossibly, he started gaining ground. 90 meters. 95 meters. The finish line. Brickstar crossed first. Of course he did. He is a Qualaxian. Marcus Webb crossed second. The stadium went completely silent. 2nd place. a human, an unknown species from an unknown world. He had just beaten every other sprinter in the galaxy except for the reigning champion. His time was 0.03 seconds behind Rickstar. 0.03 seconds. I sat there in my commentary booth, all four of my eyes wide, unable to form words. Threnna was making a sound like a tea kettle whistling. Neither of us could process what we had just seen. Down on the track, Marcus was breathing hard but smiling. He walked over to Rickstar and stuck out his hand. Humans do this when they want to show respect. It is called a handshake. Rickstar, confused but polite, extended his own hand equivalent. They shook. "Good race, man," Marcus said. The translator picked it up and broadcast it to the stadium. Rickstar's translator responded, "You are fast. For a mammal." "Thanks. You are pretty quick yourself." And then Marcus jogged off to prepare for his next event, which was starting in 45 minutes. The high jump. Let me explain something about high jump in the Galactic Olympics. The current record is held by a Valorian named Kesix, who cleared 22 feet. Valorians have hollow bones and extremely powerful leg muscles. They evolved on a low-gravity world. They are built to jump. Marcus Webb is not built to jump. But there he was, at the high jump pit, doing more of his strange stretches. The bar was set at 18 feet for the qualifying round. 10 athletes would advance to the finals. The first jumper, a Valorian, cleared it easily. So did the second. And the third. Marcus was fifth in the rotation. When his turn came, he stood at the end of the runway, staring at the bar. He took 3 deep breaths. Then he ran. His approach was different from the others. They used pure leg power, launching themselves like springs. Marcus used his whole body, every muscle. Every movement flowed into the next. He hit the takeoff point and exploded upward. And he cleared the bar. Easily. The crowd gasped. 18 feet. A human. With bone structure and muscle composition that should have made this impossible. He had just cleared 18 feet. He landed in the pit, stood up, brushed himself off, and gave a little wave to the crowd. They went absolutely insane. By the time the qualifying round ended, Marcus had cleared 19 feet, 6 inches, third best jump of the day. He qualified for the finals with room to spare. And then he left. Because his next event, the 400-meter run, was starting in 30 minutes. I need you to understand what was happening here. These events are not scheduled with the assumption that anyone will compete in multiple categories. Why would they be? No one has ever done it. So the scheduling conflicts were massive. Marcus was running between events. Literally running. I watched him sprint from the high jump pit to the track, compete in the 400 meters, where he placed third, I might add, then sprint to the swimming complex for the freestyle preliminaries. He was everywhere, all at once. And he was meddling in everything. Not winning everything. Let me be clear about that. The aliens who specialized in specific events usually beat him. But he was consistently placing in the top 3, sometimes top 5. In every single event he entered, the GAF officials were losing their minds. They kept checking his biological scans, looking for enhancement drugs. Nothing. They checked for illegal tech. Nothing. They checked for genetic modification. Nothing. Nothing. He was just a human. Doing human things. Except human things, apparently, were sufficient to compete at a galactic level across every single athletic discipline. By the end of the first day, Marcus Webb had competed in 12 events. He had medaled in 9 of them. 3 gold, 4 silver, 2 bronze. 1 athlete. 12 events. 9 medals. In 1 day. The previous record for most medals in an entire Olympics, which lasts 12 days, was 15, held by a Crethian super athlete who had spent 200 years training. Marcus had gotten 9 medals in day 1. The galaxy was paying attention now. Sports networks from every corner of known space were scrambling to get interviews. The betting markets were in chaos. Scientists were writing papers trying to explain how this was possible. Biologists were arguing about human physiology in academic journals. And Marcus? Marcus just kept competing. Day 2 started with the marathon. 26.2 miles. Standard Earth measurement, ironically. The favorite was a Threndel named Gorfax, who had 6 legs and could maintain a steady pace for hours without fatigue. Threndels are basically designed for long-distance running. Marcus showed up wearing different shoes than he had worn for the sprints. Apparently humans have specialized equipment for different running distances. Who knew? Well, the gun went off. Gorfax immediately took the lead, his 6 legs moving in perfect rhythm. Marcus settled into the middle of the pack. Smart. Conserving energy. Mile 5. Marcus moved up to 10th place. Mile 10. 5th place. Mile 15. 3rd place. Gorfax was still in the lead, but Marcus was closing the gap. And here is the thing that made everyone nervous. He did not look tired. His breathing was elevated, sure, but controlled. His pace was steady. His form was still good. Humans, it turns out, are persistence hunters. They evolved chasing prey animals until those animals collapsed from exhaustion. They can run forever. Maybe not fast, but forever. Mile 20. Marcus was in 2nd place, right behind Gorfax. Mile 25. They were neck and neck. 6 legs versus 2. Alien biology versus human stubbornness. The final stretch. 0.2 miles to go. Both runners were giving everything they had. The crowd was on their feet, all of them, every species cheering. Gorfax crossed the finish line first. Marcus crossed 3 seconds later. Silver medal. In the marathon. After having competed in 12 other events the day before. He bent over, hands on his knees, breathing hard. The medical staff rushed over to check on him. He waved them off, drank some water, and then walked over to Gorfax to shake his hand equivalent. "You are insane," Gorfax said, his translator making his astonishment clear. "How are you still moving?" Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. "Honestly, I have no idea. But this is fun." Fun. He called the most grueling race in the galaxy fun. I was starting to understand something. Something that made my scales itch with a combination of fear and excitement. Humans were not the best at any one thing. They were not the fastest, not the strongest, not the highest jumpers or the longest swimmers or the most flexible. But they were good at everything. Not specialists, generalists. Their bodies were designed to adapt, to push, to keep going when logic said they should stop. And Marcus Webb was not even their best athlete. He was just the one they sent. What kind of species produces athletes like this as their average representatives? A3. The shot put. This is a power event, pure strength. The competitor who can throw a 16-pound sphere the farthest wins. Simple. The favorite was a Grammorian named Thuke. Grammorians are massive, 8 feet tall, muscles on top of muscles. Thuke looked like he could bench press a small spacecraft. Marcus looked like a child next to him. But when Marcus's turn came, he picked up that shot put, wound up his body like a coiled spring, and threw. The sphere sailed through the air. 73 feet. 4th best throw of the day. Thuke won with a throw of 89 feet. But still, 73 feet. From a human, yes, with muscles that should not have been capable of generating that much force. After the shot put, Marcus had the 200-meter sprint. He got bronze. Then the pole vault. Silver. Then the 1,500-meter run. Gold. Then swimming. Then gymnastics. Then weightlifting. He just kept going. By day 5, the pattern was clear. Marcus Webb was going to medal in almost everything. Not win everything, but place in almost everything. The mathematicians were already calculating. If he maintained his current trajectory, he would finish the games with somewhere between 35 and 40 medals. 35 to 40 medals. One human. The GAF officials called an emergency meeting. I was not supposed to know about this, but Threnna has sources everywhere. Apparently, they were discussing whether to change the rules. Future rules, not current rules. They are not that corrupt. But rules that would prevent one athlete from competing in every event. The Marcus Webb rule, they were calling it. But for now, he was still competing. And the galaxy was watching. Because here is what we were all starting to realize. This was not about the medals. Not really. This was about what Marcus represented. Humans were new to the galactic stage. Unknown. Untested. We had dismissed them as average. Unremarkable. Another species among thousands. But Marcus Webb was showing us something different. He was showing us that humans do not specialize. They do everything. They adapt. They push themselves beyond what should be possible. They compete not because they are the best, but because they refuse to accept that they cannot be. And that terrified us. Because if one human could do this, what could their entire species do? Day 6 arrived. Marcus had now competed in 31 events, but he had medaled in 27 of them. The remaining events were scattered across the next 6 days. If his body held out, if he did not collapse from exhaustion, if he did not injure himself, he would break every record in the history of the games. But there was a problem. His body was starting to break down. I could see it. Everyone could see it. He was moving slower between events. His recoveries were taking longer. He had ice packs on his knees between competitions. Medical staff were with him constantly. The endurance events were taking their toll. And yet, he kept signing up, kept competing, he kept pushing. On day 7, he competed in the decathlon. Yes, the decathlon. 10 events across 2 days. Because apparently competing in all the individual events was not enough. He wanted to do the combined events too. Somewhere around the javelin throw, his second event of the decathlon, I saw him grimace, a flash of pain across his face. But he threw anyway, and he medaled anyway. Bronze. After the event, I managed to get close enough for an interview. He was sitting on a bench, icing both knees, drinking something that looked like liquid sugar. Marcus, I said, may I ask you a question? Sure, Vorn. What's up? Why are you doing this? Your body is clearly suffering. You have already made history. You could withdraw from the remaining events with honor. Why continue? He looked at me with those strange human eyes. Brown, warm, determined. Because I can, he said simply. Because everyone said it was impossible, and I want to show them it's not. Because every kid back on Earth who thinks they're not good enough at any one thing needs to see that being good at everything matters too. And because, he smiled. Because it's fun, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. That's when you know you're alive. I did not understand. Not then. But I was beginning to. Day 8 changed everything. Let me set the scene for you. The triple jump finals were scheduled for mid-morning. Marcus had qualified 2 days prior with a respectable jump of 48 feet. Not spectacular, but enough to make the final round. The favorite was a Scalorian named Prax, who had springs in his legs. Literal springs. His species evolved them for escaping predators on their high-gravity world. Marcus showed up limping. Not badly. But I have 4 eyes, remember? I noticed things. His left knee was wrapped in some kind of compression bandage. He was moving carefully, deliberately, like every step cost him something. Threnna noticed too. Vorn, should someone stop him. He is going to injure himself permanently. The medical staff cleared him to compete, I said. Apparently human pain tolerance is significantly higher than we estimated. That is not a good thing. Pain exists for a reason. It tells you when to stop. Humans appear to have a different relationship with pain than most species. Marcus took his first jump. 46 feet. Decent. Not his best. He landed awkwardly, favoring that left knee. I saw him wince. Second jump. 47 feet. Better. But Prax was already at 52 feet. The gold was out of reach. Marcus sat on the bench between jumps. The camera drones were focused on him. The whole galaxy was watching. Medical staff approached. He waved them off again. He was having a conversation with someone on his communication device. Later I found out it was his mother, back on Earth, watching the stream. She told him she was proud of him, that he should stop if he needed to. He told her he had one more jump in him, third and final attempt. Marcus stood at the end of the runway, took his deep breaths. That had become his signature move. 3 deep breaths before every event. Focus. Preparation. Mental fortitude. He ran. When then, his approach was slower than usual. That knee was definitely bothering him. But his technique was flawless. Every coach in the stadium was watching his form. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. He hit the takeoff board and launched. And something happened. I have watched that footage 1,000 times since then, analyzed it frame by frame, consulted with physicists and biologists and sports scientists, and we still cannot fully explain it. Marcus flew, not literally, obviously, but his body extended in ways that seemed to defy his skeletal structure. His legs cycled in the air, his arms windmilled for balance. And he hung there, suspended, for what felt like forever. He landed in the sand at 51 feet, 3 inches. The crowd exploded. Silver medal. He had beaten everyone except Prax. And Prax has springs in his legs. Marcus stood up from the sand pit, pumped his fist once, and then collapsed. Not dramatically, not like in the movies. He just sat down very quickly, like his legs had stopped working. The medical staff swarmed him immediately. The crowd went silent. Every camera drone zoomed in. They loaded him onto a hover stretcher, started to wheel him away, and Marcus, bless his stubborn human heart, pushed himself up on his elbows and yelled, loud enough for the stadium microphones to pick up, "What time is the javelin qualifier?" "I am not missing javelin." The medic, a very patient Quellen, said something to him that the microphones did not catch. Marcus's response was caught perfectly. "I did not come 40 trillion miles to quit before javelin. Patch me up. I will be fine." That became the quote. The one that every news network in the galaxy played on repeat. "I did not come 40 trillion miles to quit." They took him to the medical facility. Ran scans. His knee was badly swollen, micro tears in several ligaments. Any sensible athlete would withdraw. Any sensible species would force their athlete to withdraw. But humans, I was learning, are not sensible. 2 hours later, Marcus was at the javelin qualifier. His knee was wrapped in so much medical tape that it looked like he had a white stump instead of a leg. He could barely walk, but he could throw. Oh, could he throw? Javelin is about technique as much as strength, leverage, timing, the transfer of energy from body to spear. Marcus planted his bad leg, used it as a pivot point, and hurled the javelin like he was trying to impale the sky. 273 feet. Qualified for finals. 4th best throw of the day. Then he limped off to prepare for the 10,000-meter run. Yes, the 10,000-meter run. 6.2 miles. On a bad knee. After having just thrown a javelin with enough force to kill a small spacecraft. I cornered him before the race. Professional ethics be damned. "Marcus, you need to stop." Probably he agreed cheerfully. But I am not going to. "Why? Why are you doing this to yourself?" He looked at me with those intense brown eyes. "Vorn, do you know what they said when Earth applied to join the Galactic Federation?" I did not. Did not. They said we were too primitive, too violent, too aggressive. They said we had not evolved enough to participate in galactic society. They rejected us 3 times. 3 times. And then, finally, they said we could send 1 representative to the Olympics, 1, as a test, to see if we could handle competition without starting a war or embarrassing ourselves. He gestured around the stadium. I am that test. I am the only human here. And every kid back home, every person who has ever been told they are not good enough, they are watching me. So yeah, my knee hurts. Yeah, I am tired. Yeah, this is probably stupid. But I am going to finish, because that is what humans do. We finish. And then he went and ran 6.2 miles on a leg that should not have been able to support his weight. He placed 7th. Out of 40 runners. 7th. On 1 good leg. I sat in my commentary booth and I did something I have never done in 217 cycles of sports commentary. I cried. Keplerians do not cry often. We are logical. Sensible. But I cried. Because I was watching something I had never seen before. It was not skill. Not talent. Not biological superiority. I was watching pure, distilled, concentrated will, the refusal to accept limitation, the determination to push past every boundary that biology and physics and common sense tried to impose. I was watching humanity. Day 9. Marcus competed in 5 more events. His knee was worse. Much worse. He was taking painkillers that would have knocked out most species. But human chemistry is weird. They process drugs differently. What would incapacitate a Keplerian just took the edge off for him. Bronze medal. High jump finals. Silver medal. 400-meter hurdles. 5th place. Swimming relay. His team was just him. He swam all 4 legs himself, because there was no one else from Earth. He came in last, dead last, but he finished. And the crowd gave him a standing ovation anyway. Because by now the whole galaxy understood. This was not about winning. This was about showing up. About refusing to quit. About proving that humans belonged. Day 10. The decathlon concluded. Marcus had been competing in it across multiple days, sandwiched between all his other events. He was running on empty. You could see it. His times were slower. His jumps were shorter. His throws had less distance. But he finished. But he finished. Every single event. The final event of the decathlon was the 1,500-meter run. Marcus had already medaled in the standalone 1,500 meters earlier in the games. This was his 2nd time running the distance, on day 10, with a bad knee, after having competed in 43 other events. The gun went off, he ran, and something beautiful happened. The other decathlon competitors, all of them aliens from a dozen different species, slowed down. They matched his pace. They ran with him. Not ahead of him. With him, because they understood too. Marcus finished the 1,500 meters in the middle of the pack. The decathlon as a whole, 8th place. Respectable. Solid. Not spectacular. But when he crossed that finish line, every single athlete in the stadium, all 10,000 of them, stood up and cheered. Coaches cheered. Officials cheered. Even the normally stoic GAF administrators were applauding. Marcus limped to the sideline, sat down, and put his head in his hands. I thought he was crying. Maybe he was. Humans leak water from their eyes when they are emotional. It is very strange, but also oddly touching. A reporter asked him how he felt. He looked up, smiled that teeth-baring smile, and said, I feel like I could sleep for a week. But we still have 6 events left, so maybe later. 6 events. Over the final 2 days. His body was held together with medical tape and stubbornness. His knee was the size of a melon. He had lost 12 pounds from the stress. 12 pounds in 10 days. Human bodies are not supposed to do that. And yet. Day 11. Pole vault finals. Somehow, impossibly, he medaled. Bronze. His technique was so good that it compensated for his lack of physical power. The coaches were taking notes. Human pole vaulting form was apparently revolutionary. Then the hammer throw, silver. Then the 3,000-meter steeplechase, an event that combines distance running with jumping over barriers. With a bad knee, he came in 9th out of 30. 9th. The fact that he finished it all was miraculous. After the steeplechase, the medical staff physically restrained him. They told him he had to rest for at least 6 hours or his knee would suffer permanent damage. He argued. Actually argued with them. Insisted he could keep going. The head physician, a Throlian named Dr. Ventex, pulled rank. "Mr. Webb, I am invoking medical authority. You will rest, or I will disqualify you from the remaining events for health and safety reasons." Marcus glared at him, then sighed. "Fine. 6 hours. But I am competing tomorrow." "We will see," Dr. Ventex said, in the tone of someone who expected Marcus to wake up unable to walk. Day 12. The final day of the Olympics. 3 events left. The closing ceremony was scheduled for evening. Marcus had already made history. 39 medals. 39. The previous record was 15. He had nearly tripled it. But he had 3 events left. The morning started with the 20-kilometer race walk. Yes, race walking is an Olympic event, even in the Galactic version. I do not make the rules. Marcus showed up. His knee was wrapped in so much medical equipment that it looked like a small spacecraft. He could barely bend it. Walking was painful. Race walking, which requires a very specific technique, should have been impossible. He finished 14th. Out of 25 competitors. On one working leg. Somehow. Then the marathon relay. Again, his team was just him. He ran all 4 legs. 26.2 miles. After everything else, he did not medal. He came in 17th. But he finished. One event left. The final event of the entire Olympic Games. The 5,000-meter run. By this point, the whole galaxy was watching. Not just sports fans. Everyone. This had become bigger than sports. This was a referendum on humanity, on what they were capable of, on whether they deserved their place in the galactic community. The stadium was packed. Every seat filled. Species that had never cared about athletics were tuning in. The betting markets had suspended odds on Marcus. No one knew what to expect anymore. He limped to the starting line. He looked terrible, exhausted, injured, hollowed out. But his eyes were clear, focused. He did his 3 deep breaths. The gun fired. Marcus ran. Not fast, not gracefully. His form was off. His stride was shortened by the knee injury. But he ran. Lap 1. He was in last place. Lap 2. Still last place. The leaders were already a quarter lap ahead. Lap 3. He started to close the gap. Not much, but a little. Lap 4. The crowd began to cheer, not for the leaders, for Marcus, for the human in last place who refused to quit. Lap 5. He passed someone, a Veloxian who had burned out too early. Second to last place now. Lap 6. He passed 2 more runners. They were fresh. He was broken, but he passed them anyway. So the final lap. The bell rang. One more circuit around the track. Marcus was in 18th place. Out of 22 runners. No chance at a medal, no chance at glory. But the entire stadium was on their feet, screaming, chanting his name. Marcus, Marcus, Marcus. Species that had never heard of humans were cheering for him. Athletes who had beaten him in other events were lining the track, shouting encouragement. The other runners in the race kept looking back at him, amazed that he was still going. 300 meters to go. He passed another runner, 17th. 200 meters. His face was a mask of pain, but his legs kept moving. 100 meters. The leaders had already finished. Gold, silver, bronze were decided. But no one cared. Every camera was on Marcus. 50 meters. His knee buckled. He stumbled. The crowd gasped. He caught himself. Kept running. More of a hobble now than a run. 25 meters. He was not going to make it. His body was done. Finished. Everyone could see it. 10 meters. He fell. Not collapsed. Fell. His knee gave out completely. He hit the track hard. And then he got up. On his hands and knees first. Then one foot. Then the other. Standing. Wobbling. But standing. 5 meters to go. He walked. Could not run anymore. Could not even jog. But he walked. One step at a time. Each step an act of defiance against biology, physics, and common sense. The finish line. He crossed it, dead last, by a full minute behind the second-to-last runner, and the stadium erupted. The roar was deafening. Every species, every athlete, every official. They were all on their feet, screaming, cheering, celebrating. Not because he won. Because he finished. Marcus took 2 more steps past the finish line, then sat down on the track. Just sat. Medical staff rushed over. He waved them off one more time, pulled out his communication device, and called home. I was close enough with my camera drone to hear. "Mom? Yeah, I finished. All of them. Every single one. Yeah, I know I look terrible. The medics are mad at me. But I did it. Tell everyone back home I did it." He paused, listening. Then he smiled. "Love you too, Mom." He hung up, looked directly at my camera. "Vorn, tell the galaxy something for me?" "Of course, Marcus. Tell them humans are not the best at any one thing. But we show up, and we finish. Always." Then he let the medics take him away. The closing ceremony that night was unlike anything in Olympic history. Normally, they showcase the gold medalists, the champions, the best of the best. Instead, they showcased Marcus Webb. He hobbled onto the stage in a medical walking boot, supported by crutches. The crowd lost their minds. The applause lasted for 7 minutes straight. 7 minutes. Administrator Kelrick, the one who had invited the humans in the first place, presented Marcus with a special commendation. Not a medal, something new, something they created just for him. The Galactic Athletic Federation Award for Exceptional Determination. He was the first recipient. Probably will be the only recipient. Because you cannot make a habit of awarding people for nearly destroying themselves through sheer stubbornness. But Marcus earned it. In his acceptance speech, which was broadcast to 4,000 worlds, he said this: "Thank you, all of you. I came here not knowing what to expect. I am just a guy from Earth. We are new to all of this. The galaxy, the politics, the technology. We are still figuring out where we fit. But I want you to know something about humans. We might not be the fastest. We might not be the strongest. We might not have springs in our legs or 6 arms or gills or any of the amazing biological gifts you all have. But we have something else. We have the refusal to accept no as an answer. We have the ability to look at the impossible and say, 'Watch me anyway.' We have stubbornness and courage, and the willingness to break ourselves trying. That is what humans bring to the galactic community. Not superiority, not dominance, but the absolute, unshakable determination to show up and give everything we have, every single time. So, thank you for letting me compete. Thank you for letting my species prove ourselves. And I promise you, this is just the beginning. Humanity is here, and we are not going anywhere." The galaxy erupted in applause again. Final medal count for Marcus Webb: 42 medals, 15 gold. 18 silver, 9 bronze from 47 events. He competed in every single event he entered, finished every single one. Did not withdraw once. His knee required surgery. 3 months of physical therapy. The doctors said he would never run competitively again. 2 years later, he qualified for the next Galactic Olympics on a completely healed knee. Because human healing factors, it turns out, are also exceptional. But that is a different story. The impact of Marcus's performance rippled across the galaxy. Applications to the Galactic Federation from Earth increased by 3,000%. Other species started studying human training methods. Our generalist approach to athletics, our mental toughness protocols, our refusal to specialize. The GAF did implement the Marcus Webb rule as predicted. No single athlete can compete in more than 10 events in future Olympics. They had to. Otherwise, every human athlete would try to match what Marcus did. And the medical facilities cannot handle that many stubborn, self-destructive endurance monsters. But they also did something else. They created a new category of events, team events specifically designed for generalists, for species and individuals who excel at being good at everything rather than perfect at one thing. Humans dominate those events, obviously. As for me, I am still commentating, still watching the greatest athletes in the galaxy compete. But everything changed after Marcus. I watch differently now. I look for the determination, not just the talent, the grit, not just the genetics, but because Marcus Webb taught all of us something important. Specialization has its place. Being the best at one specific thing is admirable. But there is another kind of greatness. The greatness of showing up when no one expects you to. Of finishing when every logical bone in your body says to quit. Of looking at the entire buffet of impossibility and saying, I will take it all. Thank you. That is humanity. That is what they bring to the galaxy. Not superiority, not dominance, but the breathtaking, terrifying, inspiring audacity to try everything, fail at most of it, succeed at enough of it, and refuse to ever quit. The galaxy invited a human to the Olympics to test them, to see if they belonged, to see if they could compete. Marcus Webb did not just compete. He rewrote what competition meant. He showed us that winning is not the only measure of greatness, that showing up is its own victory, that finishing, no matter what, is its own kind of gold medal. And now the galaxy knows. Humans are here. They are not going anywhere. And they will try everything at least once, even if it kills them, especially if it kills them. That is both the most wonderful and most terrifying thing about them. I am Vorn. I am a Keplerian sports commentator. I have 4 eyes, which means I see things others miss. And I saw humanity announce itself to the galaxy, not with weapons, not with technology, not with conquest, but with one stubborn man on a bad knee who refused to accept the word impossible. The galaxy will never be the same. And honestly, I am glad. Because existence was getting a little boring before the humans showed up. Now things are interesting and painful to watch sometimes. And absolutely, completely, unforgettably inspiring. Welcome to the galactic community, humanity. Try not to break yourselves too badly. We need you around for the next Olympics.